Friends, welcome back to the Field and Garden Podcast. It is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm really glad you've decided to join us here today. And I have another this is really a special recording of a good friend, Val Schirmer of Three Toads Farm, and Val, who, you know, it, we know that she's does amazing work, but when you're recognized for that work, it just really is so affirming, right? So Val was in the top 10 farmer florists, named in the top 10 by Martha Stewart. So we know that she is the master of creating beautifulness. And with the addition of me learning to know her through the AFCFG and coming to work with her there. And then finally, I actually sat in on one of her programs at one of our conferences on creating these amazing indoor blooming winter gardens with amaryllis and paperwhites. And y'all, keep in mind, I've been selling and growing amaryllis and paperwhites for a couple of decades. I learned so much from Val, and her end result containers are over the top. They are literally magazine photography quality. So very, very gorgeous. And so I asked Val to join me on Clubhouse, my weekly Flower Farmer show, and we recorded it so we can bring it to you here. And, if you are the person that wants to learn how to grow indoor blooming bulbs this winter, to have something to really just enjoy during those cold days, and better yet, Val takes you through wrapping it up as an amazing gift. She really does take the mystery out, y'all, of selecting, growing, and enjoying these bulbs, from what size to buy, how to bring them back for the next year for the amaryllis. And it just has never felt quite so easy. So I just want to tell you that this course is a little less than 3 hours. It is available for $49.95 over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And there are several sessions in this course, and I'm just going to rate them off to you. And you can learn more over on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. The first session is how to select the right bulbs, then how to force amaryllis, then how to force paperwhites. Number 4, creating a gorgeous display with amaryllis. Number 5, how to create magazine-worthy displays with paperwhites. Then number 6, how to save your amaryllis to rebloom again next year. And the bonus, how to create the most unique gift ever. So friends, I invite you to let's have a listen to Val as my guest on my Flower Farmer show over on Clubhouse, and let's hear what she has to say. My name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am joined here with one of my team members, Jessie Gravin, and she is here to be our moderator, and I'll let her let you know in just a minute how you can ask questions. And we're also joined here today by my good friend and now one of our business partners, Val, of Three Toads Farm. And Val, hi, how are you? Long
Hi,
time no
Lisa.
see.
Yeah, can you see me?
No, we can't see you. We can only hear you. So thank you so much for joining us here today. And I'm going to ask, so Val, if what we do is, normally those of us that aren't speaking, we typically mute ourselves just to keep the back noise down. And I'm going to ask Jessie now to unmute herself and tell everybody, introduce herself, as well as to share how people can ask questions and how she can help them do that. Thanks, Jessie.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jessie with the Gardener's Workshop, and I'm happy to be here with Lisa and Val, and I'm happy to help out with the chats in the Flower Farmer showroom. And one of the things that I do is I help for people that want to ask questions of the speakers via the back channel chat that's available here on Clubhouse. So, in order to use the chat feature, you'll look to the bottom right of your phone screen and you'll see an icon that looks like a paper airplane. If you click on that icon, it should bring up a place where you can type my name in, Jesse, and they'll have the same photo that we have here. And from there, you should be able to send me a message. You can ask a question via text that way, and I can ask it for you. But we also really encourage people to use the hand raising feature, the button at the bottom there, to come up and ask questions vocally as well. Wanted to just take a quick moment to let everyone know that we are recording this chat for possible future use. And so if you do raise your hand and come up, you're just, you're consenting to have your voice recorded. So also, if you want to be notified the next time that we do a chat, which we try to do them every Wednesday, if you go up to the top where it says flower farming and there's a little greenhouse, if you click on that and you join our club, then when the new chats are scheduled, you'll be notified and you can set a reminder for those. Last thing I was going to mention is if you know anybody that you think would be excited to listen to this topic and you want to invite them to this room, you can press at the bottom there, you can press the plus button, and that'll give you an opportunity to send a notification to folks who you also follow on Clubhouse about the room that's in session, and then they can come in and join if they want. So thanks, everyone. I'm glad to be here. It should be a good discussion.
Thank you so much, Jesse. So, friends, today we have asked one of our instructors from one of our new courses, and she's also a great friend, Val Schirmer of Three Toads Farm. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Val, and then I'm going to let her introduce herself. And I'd like Val to kind of tell us that whole Lily story or short little story about how she came to appreciate why bulb size really matters. I talk about that a lot because I think most people just don't understand that. So Val and I met. I knew her through flower farming, and then she and I both served on the board of the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers together. We actually sat in the boardroom next to each other. So I really came to know her, and then she actually did a program at one of our national conferences on what she does with containers using Amaryllis and Paperwhites. And y'all, it just blew me away. Not only are they magazine worthy, gorgeous, but her tips and experience was just over the top. And so I'm just really glad that when I approached her, she decided to do a course. And we're here today to answer your questions about Amaryllis and Paperwhites, and to learn a little bit more about Val. So, Val, welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks so much for having me. And hello, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen in. Yeah, I've been a cut flower grower since, well, I came up with the idea in 1997, and that was to grow big, gorgeous, fragrant oriental lilies. And I had seen them up at White Flower Farm up in Connecticut in their test gardens and just fell in love with them. And so I talked my good friend Charlie Hendricks into doing this with me. And then over a couple of years of trial and error, we hit on the notion that the bigger the bulb, the bigger the show. And that really set the stage for everything that we have done. We wanted to try to grow the kinds of flowers that could stop people in their tracks. And you can tell a little bit of Kentucky bourbon was involved in that to come up with that idea. But that really set the stage for everything that we've done. And it also applies to amaryllis and paperwhites. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But one of the things you'll hear me say in the course and today is the bigger the bulb, the bigger the show.
Thank you, Val. I just think that is just a part of that's missing a lot of times when folks are going to make a purchase. And that really applies to any kind of bulb you're buying. not just Amaryllis and Paperwhite. So that's just a really great lesson. So Val's course, which we is on demand, which meaning you can purchase it at any time. It's almost 3 hours long, and she covers so much, y'all. It is called Forcing Glorious Bulbs for the Holidays and Beyond. And what the beyond part is a lot of people just associate Amaryllis and Paperwhites with Christmas and the holiday time. But really, there is a whole group of those amaryllis that you can have to bloom during the cold, long days of winter that she talks about. So I'm just going to hit the highlights of what she includes in her course, and then I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about the course in general, or some tips on amaryllis and paperwhites. She takes you from, what size bulb she recommends, her favorite varieties, what to plant them in, how to plant them, how to tend to them and care for them, and then also how to bring them back into bloom the next year. And y'all, how to make these over the top gorgeous containers. You can actually go to our website, thegardenersworkshop.com, and go to her course, and there's like a 3-minute video, like a little introduction that's right there on the web. You can see some of the containers that I'm talking about. And then the best part of it for me, or that I thought was just a really important part, was she shares how to package it and present it as a gift, because this course was designed for the home gardener. But y'all, flower farmers can definitely take what you learn in here and turn it in to production of containers for you to actually sell. And she actually also includes a resource sheet of commercial, where you would go commercially once you're in a business. She does that for the home gardener as well as for the grower. So Val, kind of tell us a little bit about the course and just some of those important highlight tips that you think somebody would know. And then we'll start taking questions at any time. So if you have any indoor bulb related question, we would love to hear from you.
Sure. I have really enjoyed helping other flower farmers. These are commercial growers primarily. Um, Learn how to force flowers for the holidays, primarily amaryllis and paperwhites. And I've, like Lisa mentioned, I've talked at conferences. I've loved to show them, what I do, because it's a great thing for other growers to do during a time of year that's kind of slow. And one of the things I've learned over the years of doing this, and I've been doing it for a pretty long time, is that people love surrounding themselves with gorgeous flowers, especially something that their neighbors and their guests haven't seen as much. And so this forcing amaryllis and paperwhites gives them the chance to have something really incredible in their home during the holidays or after the holidays. And I especially like forcing them so that so you'll have them during the dark months of winter, like in January or February. And I show in the course how you can create a gift to give to yourself, or to give to anybody that's near and dear to you, that you can even ship if you'd like to, so they can surround themselves in flowers during those dark days of winter. I decided to do my course as a series of videos so that you can see exactly how I do what I do. You don't have to just look at pictures of it and read slides. It's all hands on, virtually. It's all a demonstration of how I choose my favorite bulbs. And then in the resources, I have pictures and names of all of my very favorites too. And then how to get them started, and why I do it the way that I do it. And I like to force things in a 6 pack for Paperwhites. And I do that so that when they are just about ready to bloom, you can pop them out and put them into any container at all. I do something similar also with Amaryllis. Now, you don't have to follow what I'm doing. I also show you how to put them into your favorite container, whether it's going to be one of those mossy clay pots maybe that you have outside, or perhaps it's some kind of a vintage pot that you have, like an old McCoy pot, or I love putting them into old punch bowls because that's so pretty as well. Or else you can get, something new to put them into. But so I take you step by step through how to do that, where to find the bulbs, how to pot them up, how to get them growing, and then how to transfer them into um, their final container, which is something I love to do. And that's how you create something that's worthy of being in a magazine. And then I also show you how to save amaryllis so that they'll bloom for years to come. Paperwhites, I don't worry about that because they're not hardy here. They're not really worth, in my opinion, saving over to try to get to grow next year. I always suggest starting out with new Paperwhites so you get a great show. And then I show you how to make two great gifts. One that you can ship, and then the other one, it's a forcing kit to give to your best friends.
And you say to gift, and in my mind I'm seeing, and that's exactly the package I'm talking about selling flower farmers, for those of you that are on here that are flower farmers. But the course was catered to the home gardener, and I just want to ask Val a couple of questions, some of the ones that we did or didn't get to over on Instagram, and very common questions. The first thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is how, when you just follow a few steps, right? It's just the bloom is in that bulb and it's coming out. You just have to help it, right? And to make it look as beautiful as possible.
That's exactly right. When you get a bulb, just like Lisa said, the bloom, the stems, the buds are already in that bulb. And so that's another reason why you want to get the biggest bulbs you can possibly find so that you know that you're going to get lots of blooms. It's just as easy, or as it's just as hard actually to grow uh, a cheap bulb as it is to grow a really great one. And it is not hard to force amaryllis or paperwhites. They are dying to go ahead and get growing. In the course, I talk about getting amaryllis from the southern hemisphere, and then also the ones that are primarily from Holland, the Dutch bulbs. And the reason that I get both kinds, and I explain to you the difference in it, but the real difference is that, that southern hemisphere, it's where we're going into winter. They're going into summer. And left to their own devices, amaryllis would typically bloom in the summer. So if you get an amaryllis bulb that's from, say, Peru, and Peru is my favorite place to get them from, it is going to be very, very easy to get growing, and so that you'll have those blooms in time for the holidays. If you get a bulb from, say, Holland, they're on the same schedule as we are. So when it's winter here, it's winter there as well. Those bulbs take longer to get started, but they are the ones that are perfect to use to have blooming in homes during the dark days of winter.
Yeah, and that was something else that always escaped me. I didn't really realize there was two different groups, and it's true, Val, right, that you might find the same variety of amaryllis, but a Peruvian version and a Dutch version, right?
You're absolutely right. Uh, because it's not like they grow different varieties in different places of the world. They're going to grow the same varieties. And so if you got, say, one of my favorite bulbs is called Double King, and it is a big, gorgeous, bright double amaryllis. It is one of the biggest flowers you will ever see in your life. But I get those from Peru, and then I also get them from Holland. And so if you had that, you would plant them at the same time, but yet they would bloom during different times. So, yeah, you can get the same bulbs from any place in the world typically, and there's lots of choices.
And so the bottom line is, you either, as growers, perhaps, or flower farmers, or folks that are looking, about what I want to talk about next, is that they make really great cut flowers too. if your container gets kind of ugly, which can happen if they grow too tall from low light, right?
That's exactly right. If and I tend to grow mine downstairs. We're in an old two-story house, and I remember years and years ago when I was first growing them that I would come downstairs in the morning, and once in a while, one of my great big tall amaryllis, and it could be easily 2 feet tall, had decided to bend over during the night. Which is basically breaking its stem. And at first, that made me really sad until I started cutting those stems off. And then I'd cut them a little bit shorter so they would fit into my vases. And they last easily as long in a vase as a cut flower as they do on a plant. So if you have paperwhites, for example, and you end up not having bright enough light where they sort of flop over, or towards the end of their flowering period, you've got some more still coming up, but there might be, you've only got a couple of them in your container. You can cut those off and put them in little bud vases and put them all over the house, and they will really make you happy.
So that's a really good point. And because I think that folks, I think a lot of people struggle with them growing too tall and rangy because so many of our homes are actually low light. And so knowing that they last as long as a cut flower as they do in that container, as you kind of perfect your environment, because I'm telling you, folks, after you see these gorgeous bulb gardens that she, um, creates, you're going to want to learn how to keep them shorter because she also shares with you the cocktail recipe that actually um, helps them to stay shorter. It's like a vodka recipe it's a growth regulator basically. So I've invited Ellen up. Ellen must have a question for us or a comment. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi everyone. I do have a question. Vale, when you're talking about those big stems tipping over, and then using them as cuts, are they budded? Are they in bloom? Like at what phase, if it's budded, will it continue to open in the vase?
If they are budded, they will continue to open in the vase. And as you know, because you've probably gotten amaryllis that are used for cut flowers, and they're typically going to come to you in bud, so that the big blooms aren't damaged during transportation. But they will open as buds. But typically, the ones that fall over are the ones that get heavy with the big flowers. And
Right.
so those are the ones that I really really enjoy putting them in a vase. And what's really fun is to go outside into your yard and cut magnolia or evergreens or whatever you've got, put that in a vase, and then add in that stem of amaryllis, and it's a spectacular arrangement.
Thanks.
Sure.
So, Val, that brings up a great point. And I do want to just say that growing amaryllis as a cut flower crop is a challenging crop. I would call that a graduate school grower, not a middle school grower, as most of us are, because the bulbs are so expensive, right? I mean, you have to really perfect your game of keeping the bulbs from year to year, doing it well so that they rebloom. So I think for me personally, I have certainly cut a lot of stems off of my dishes that my gardens that I have planted. But do you know anybody that grows them as an actual crop?
I don't. I have been asked to grow them as cut flowers, which I don't do, because I want to have them so that people can enjoy them in their homes. I mean, that's really what I enjoy doing. And if you're growing them as a cut flower crop, think about this. Sometimes amaryllis will send up 3 or 4 stems all at once. And sometimes they'll send up one, and then they'll send up a second one, then they'll send up a third one. Well, if you cut off 1 or 2 of those stems from the bulb to use as cut flowers, then it's you can't use that bulb in people's homes, if that makes any sense at all, because you're either growing as a cut flower or you're growing as tabletop bulb gardens, which tabletop bulb gardens is what the course is all about.
Sure. And that's really, really a great point. So, Jesse, do you have any questions that have come in on the back channel?
Oh, wait, Lisa, can I add one more point?
Sure.
We have two growers that are growing amaryllis as a cut crop, but they're growing like a mini variety. I don't know, Val, if you know anything about these. They're not like the standard size. They're like a smaller, like way more manageable um, size as a
Yes,
cut,
like
and it's available all of January.
yeah, yeah. Those are delightful little amaryllis to grow. And I'm thinking that some of them. Am I thinking like cybister? Maybe they call them. And people who are on this call can find these varieties if they go to some of my sources, like Britt and Becky's Bulbs is a great one. White Flower Farm is another really good one. I also like John Sheepers. They have these as well. And you're going to see pictures of them. They're shorter, they're smaller. They almost look kind of like an orchid a little bit to me, um, or like a species amaryllis. If that's, and I'm making that part up about the species, but it could be that's what they are. Because now amaryllis have been bred to be big, double blooms, single blooms, all kinds of colors, not blues and not purples, but everything from the holiday colors that we know and love to the most luscious watermelon and apricot colors. There's even light yellows. I mean, they are beautiful to have in your home anytime.
Thank you, Val. I think the thing that people perhaps, if they're looking to purchase amaryllis, to give as a gift or to make a dish, I think the important thing for them to focus on, and you add whatever I leave off here, is bulb size, and then whether it's a Peruvian or a Dutch, because that dictates really when it's gonna kind of bloom, right?
Yes. And when you get a bulb from the southern hemisphere. And they can come from Israel, they can come from South Africa, they can come from different places. They're typically going to be called Christmas flowering. And that's what you're going to see in the catalog and on the websites of some of the places I suggested. They'll call them Christmas flowering, and that means that they came from the southern hemisphere and that they are they're just naturally timed to be blooming this year in time for the holidays. Wait, is that your question? Did you ask me that? Was that your question, Lisa?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yep. So Christmas flowering, look for that. Or if they say, sometimes they'll say Southern Hemisphere, some of them will, or they might even say where they're from. If they do that, then those are the bulbs that are going to be blooming in time for the holidays. But once again, like Lisa said, look for the largest bulbs you can find. I like to get, and they're sized by centimeters, and I like to get them that are 36 to 38 centimeters around. And that's among the top 2% of bulbs in the world to get ones that size. I'll go as small as 32 centimeters, and on occasion, I've gone to 30 if it was one I really, really wanted. And if that's all you can find, because people have been ordering these for a couple months now, probably, at least commercial growers. But if you can only find something that's going to be 30, 32 centimeters, you're just going to get some extras so that you can fill up your bowl that you're going to have them growing in. They'll still be beautiful. They're just not going to have quite as many stems or as many flowers. So pack in more bulbs.
Yeah, so Val, I think that's one thing that I really learned from you and also from Dave Dowling is that you just can't even imagine how much bigger the show is. You get more stems with more flowers, and the flowers are bigger, and it's just a little bit additional cost, but it is so very, very worth it. So, Jesse, do you have any questions on the back channel?
No, not yet. Just as a reminder, if anyone joined us after the discussion started, there is a way. Of course, we welcome anyone that would like to raise their hand and come up and ask a question related to these bulbs or the course of Val. And then also there's the back channel feature where you can text me a question if you don't want to ask it or can't ask it yourself for any reason. Use this paper airplane icon at the bottom right-hand corner. And once you get to the next page, you can type in my name and click that and send me your question, and I can ask it on your behalf. Thank you.
Well,
Thank,
let
thank you, Jesse. So, folks, if you are interested in learning more about Val's course, you can find it at thegardenersworkshop.com. It's called Forcing Glorious Bulbs for the Holidays and Beyond. It's an on demand course. If you're familiar with our courses, some of them you can buy year round, and some of them are only available for a specific time. This is one of our on demand courses. It's $50. It is the best $50 you will ever spend if you want to lighten up your winter. And she takes you through, it's 3 hours long. It is video of her showing you how to do everything. It also includes resources of her favorite amaryllis, where to purchase them if you are a home gardener. And then she also has a commercial resource list of where business people can actually purchase wholesale bulbs. And sooner than later, folks. We both, Val and I, buy from the same commercial source. We've had our orders in for months and months. And we definitely think that this year, because gardening is on such an uptick, y'all, it's pretty unbelievable. They're going to be very much in demand. So you need to do it sooner than later if you want to do it. And Val, let's just finish this talk off. Oh, we've got a hand raised. Let's see who we're going to bring. Linda up here. Um, and after Linda asks her question, I want to talk about the fragrance of paper whites. And Val and I will share our little tip on that. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. Um, Val, you've talked about the timing of the bulbs, the Dutch versus the South American. But for year two, when you get them to rebloom, can you time the Dutch bulbs to bloom for Christmas?
You know what, Linda? That is a great question. And the way that you would get them to bloom in time for Christmas is that you would force them into dormancy earlier. And
Okay.
by that, I mean like right now, this time of year, if you had amaryllis that have been living outside all summer long, they've got great big leaves. Now is when you would cut off all those leaves and put the bulb someplace dark, and you would not water that bulb for 8 to 10 weeks. And that's during its dormant time. And the reason you don't water it is that you have to force it to become dormant. And when it's dormant is when all of those buds start being formed in the bulb. So you would have it indoors in your dark place for 8 to 10 weeks, and then you would bring it out. It might already be starting to grow. You might see some little stems or flat leaves coming up, and then you would give it a good drink of water and put it in the warmest place that you have.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Hey,
Great.
thanks, Linda. Thanks for coming up.
Mhm.
So, Val, one of the common things that we learn about or hear from people is that the fragrance of paper whites, they may personally appreciate it, but the people they live with think it really smells like a kitty box.
Yes.
So share our secret of what we do about that.
And Lisa and I both do the same thing. And that is the biggest complaint that you will hear with paper whites, that people, if they don't like the smell, they hate the smell. They don't want to smell it at all. And that comes from the most commonly available paper white is called Ziva, Ziva. And that is the one that is cheapest, and it's most commonly available. It's also the stinkiest. And so Lisa and I have both been on journeys to find great paper whites that don't have as strong a fragrance. And the one that we have both landed on, so you know it's got to be the best one, is called, it's referred to by two names. It's either called Near, N-I-R, or it's called Nazareth. Now, Nazareth or Near has bigger flowers, shorter stems, more stems. So that makes it a winner right there. And it also has a softer fragrance than the Zebas. So that is one that is worth searching out. There's also one called Inbal, Inbal, that has the least amount of fragrance. The only thing about Inbal that's a negative to it is that it doesn't force well in water. So if people want to force them on pebbles in clear glass vases, which looks so pretty, they don't do as well there for some reason.
So we are at the end of our time here. And friends, we just appreciate you guys joining us here every Wednesday. From time to time, I just love having a co-host on with us. And if you want to learn more about Val's course, you can find it at thegardenersworkshop.com. There's a course page, and you can actually listen to her introductory video. And friends, it's really, really not only a fun thing to do for yourself, but this can be a really great addition to a flower farmer's lineup for fall and winter offerings if you're able to get some bulbs. So, Val, thank you so much. This is our second time today. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
I appreciate you. I miss you so much. So it's been great talking with you.
Yeah, Val and I served together on the board and would see each other like 3 to 4 times a year. And yeah, I miss seeing a lot of people like that, at the conferences, but those days will come again. So
Yep.
folks, please remember, if you want to join our club, the little flower farming greenhouse at the very top of this page. If you touch that little greenhouse, you can join, so you'll be alerted. I go live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock doing different topics. And we also have a closed Facebook group called the Flower Farmer Show page, where I get my content from, what we talk about here, and answer questions. And we'd love to have you join us over on that. So, friends, until we meet again, ciao.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. If that doesn't make you want to learn more about growing amaryllis and paperwhites, you can pass. But I'm telling you, it'll change your winter. And the gift opportunity in this is pretty amazing. So I just want to take a moment. If you're not familiar with our online courses at thegardenersworkshop.com, we have two types of courses. We have workshop on demand courses, which is like Val's, that is for sale, year round, 24/7. You can go over there and purchase it. Then we have school courses, which are much larger courses that there's interaction with your instructor. And so Val's course is actually one of those on-demand courses, meaning you can purchase it at any time. And here's the thing about our online courses. It's just like buying a book, but better, y'all. So instead of picking up the book to read it anytime you want, you just pick up a device that has internet access and log into your online library of all of your courses that you've purchased from us. You have lifetime unlimited access to that. So you can get to it anytime you want to review, to remind yourself, to go in and look at those resources that Val has prepared. She has even included a resource for commercial growers that want to make these containers for sale. She has made a commercial list of where you can purchase those as a business owner. Friends, you don't want to miss out on this course. Find it over at thegardenersworkshop.com, forcing glorious blooms for the holidays and beyond. Ciao.